Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Make It Better. Today is going to be really cool because two of my favorite colleagues are going to join me, Sal and Chinloo Lama. Sal and Chinloo, please jump on in with me here. How are you guys
Hey,
doing?
Mike.
Hello,
Great. How you
good.
doing?
How are you?
So, I've had the pleasure of getting to know you guys over almost, the last decade or so, and you guys do some really amazing things. But for the few people that may not have heard of you yet or seen you present at 3D Experience World or SolidWorks World, who are you and what do you do here at Dassault?
Uh,
You start.
I'll start. We both work for the SolidWorks R&D team. I work in a team called Product Definition, have been there for many, many years. And Product Definition, if you're not familiar, we're the folks that try to understand all the customer's technical needs. And then we write specifications that our developers bring to life to actually bring the software to you every year.
And I'm part of the user experience team. I've been there, I think, 18 years now. And it's been really fun trying to take all of the functionality of the software and making sure that it's a much more user-friendly experience. So I've been working on a lot of the workflows that deal with multi-device access to our software. But we've been doing something different for the last couple of years. So hopefully we get to talk more about it later.
Yeah, we've got special T-shirts today to show that.
Yes, and we will get to that in a little bit because that's actually part of the reason that you're here on the episode is not to talk about all the daily stuff we do, but to talk about all the cool, amazing things you do on top of it. But to give a little context, you guys have been with SolidWorks and Dassault for quite a number of years. But before that, you guys were out in other areas of the world. Can you talk a little bit about your background before coming and doing R&D projects here?
Yeah. Do you want to start? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. So I actually, my undergraduate degree is in mechanical engineering. So I've had with that degree some experience with product design. I worked for Polaroid for a few years and designed a digital printer with them. Then I hopped back to school and got my master's in computer graphics design. So that allowed me to learn more about the software side of user experience. And that kind of merged together. I have experience working for nonprofits, designing educational content. I've worked on other aspects that are more interactive with the community. So that kind of brought me into the STEM education world, which I knit back into what I do now at SolidWorks. And all in all, I've just been a huge proponent of just getting your hands dirty, no matter what project you work on. So there's a lot of prototyping.
So there's been one or two constants in the last 30 years of my life. One is this woman sitting next to me, and the other is CAD. In fact, Chinloo and I met in college, and that's when I kind of discovered 3D solid modeling. And from that moment on, it's been just part of who I am and what I do. I also studied mechanical engineering in college. And then right after that, went into sort of becoming a tech kind of guy. I was, basically an application engineer for a number of years before I found SolidWorks. And I joined SolidWorks in 99. So it's been 25, 26 years of working with or around SolidWorks. I took a couple of vacations from SolidWorks. This is the third time I've actually worked at the company. I love it so much. But at one point, I went and worked for a SolidWorks reseller. And then at one point, I went to work for a toy company. Can I say the name of the toy company?
Yes,
Is that okay?
do it.
Yeah.
I went to work for Hasbro, so I designed some cool toys there for a couple of years. That was a really great time in my life. But I've been back at SolidWorks for, I don't know, 15 years now straight, and it's a blast. I can't get away from CAD. It's just in my DNA at this point.
I just have to add something in that summary. He actually left SolidWorks to work for a reseller because I went back for my master's, not because he had any other reason than being present with me. That was a really nice move. So, and thank goodness SolidWorks recognized that he still loves SolidWorks and allowed him to come back. But yeah, that was kind of a hiatus specifically for my need. So it was
I
great.
mean, it sounds strategically placed, is how I would see it from my side, right? There's a whole bunch of strategery going on with you two and planning things out. And we'll get to that here in just a little bit when we talk about some of the projects you guys are working on today. I do see over in the comments, someone did start to comment. This is live. So if you have questions for Sal or Chinloo, please put them in the chat. We'll get to them when we can. And we'll try to kick this thing off because you're talking to two people that have decades and decades and decades of experience in design and making and building and SolidWorks, which everybody wants to know about, right? These little tips and tricks over the years. These two are your best conduit to get there. So feel free to jump into the chat, ask some questions, say hi. And at the end, we'll talk about how you can reach these two and then get to some things. And we have some pretty cool surprises at the end too. So one of the things that you guys have been working on in the last several years, I'll put it, because I can't remember the exact date when this started. That's my bad. But some of the things we talked about at 3D Experience World is Magic Wheelchair. And you guys are a big leader in that group for what Dassault and SolidWorks does with Magic Wheelchair. First off, for the people who haven't heard of it, can you talk a little bit about what it is? And then we can talk about some of the projects that you guys have worked on.
Yeah, so I'll give the overview. So Magic Wheelchair is a nonprofit organization that builds epic costumes for kiddos in wheelchairs at no cost to families. I think Chinloo, you should speak a bit about how we met, like first met with them. Like
we were in the Maker Faire in New York City. Again, I don't know what year it was.
2017.
Yeah, 17. It was 17 or 18. And we were actually there promoting another product we worked on, which is SolidWorks apps for kids. And so a representative on the East Coast from Magic Wheelchair came up and had asked the SolidWorks folks about getting some licenses to use to design some of these costumes. It was then that we got a quick elevator pitch of what they were doing, and we instantly fell in love with their mission. And it was really an opportunity for us to start to use the product that we got to design and in practice fabricate these amazing costumes that are imagined by kiddos. They obviously have no bounds in what their expectations are, and we tried our darndest to meet that expectation each time. So it's pushed us into areas outside of our comfort zone, outside of our skill set, but it's always come back to be a huge emotional paycheck as well as a skills development process.
Yeah, I would say that point you made earlier, as R&D folks, we have great jobs that we can go and visit customers and see how they're using it. And of course, we've had our own experiences in design, but to see how people are using the software is great, and that helps us understand. But then to actually have a project that we're working on every day with a team of people using the software, finding out where it needs to improve, there's so many benefits and to both us personally and to the company to actually use the software to design things. So yeah, you saw in the B-roll, we've built 5 costumes so far, and they've all gotten progressively more complex, and the team has gotten even tighter knit. We've all built skills over time, from obviously modeling to fabrication to electronics and more. It's really rewarding, both from a seeing your idea come to life, but more so to what it does for the family and for the child. They get to be a superstar for a day. They get it's basically a dream of theirs coming true, and you're helping that happen.
Yeah, I want to absolutely, and I want to touch on that point that Sal mentioned, where it's almost like we created a little microcosm of a simulated startup company in the way that we behave. And all of us have specific skills. Some are better modelers, some are better fabricators, some are just like the marketing team who's reaching out and connecting with the family and the venue. So we have all of these roles that some of us have kind of adopted as our primary skill, but it's like a startup where everyone who's considering, oh, I want to work more on electronics, it's a skill I haven't learned, they can shadow someone else and learn. And it's just such a dynamic environment that I'm sure mirrors a lot of the companies out there, and it's really nice for us to experience that firsthand. Yeah, and it's actually a bigger motivation to be successful, to meet the expectation of a kiddo, than to maybe meet the bottom line of a startup. Is that correct?
I mean, it's just VC money.
Yeah, it's similar, but gosh, I don't think I would ever want to go to a family and a kiddo saying, sorry, we didn't meet your deadline or your birthday or Halloween because life got in the way.
And that's the other aspect of this, the delivery of the costume, how you do it. It could be something as simple as an intimate gathering with just the immediate family, or if the family's happy or comfortable with it, we blow these things out. So the very first one we did was the child wanted a monster truck, so we built him a monster truck and we gave it to him at the Monster Truck Rally.
Monster Jam, and he got on the Megatron, Jumbotron.
Yeah,
it was so cool.
So we try to make him a celebrity for a day, that's for sure.
Yeah, he got to give out autographs. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. So you got autographs too?
Well, it was funny. Like he wanted to get autographs from the other monster truck drivers, but they in turn got autographs from him because he had a cool costume. It was amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, and you guys hit on something there, and I do want to go back and mention something about the B-roll too that came up. Every year I see what you guys create, and you are correct. It is way more complicated every single year. You guys are constantly raising the bar with that. One of the things I think that comes into play too, and I see it on my side, is when you're using technology for a deadline in a given product that can't move, you have to find new innovative ways to solve problems per se, as if you're versus when your time is unlimited, right?
Mm.
So to me, what you both go through and what the team goes through is really indicative of, okay, I have a problem with the deadline. What's the fastest, shortest way to get there? And I think ultimately, maybe you guys would agree, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but it allows us to make better products because of the fact that we understand the crunch that people are in. Would you agree with that?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely made a lot of compromises in situations where we wanted to achieve something else, but yeah, either time or material, all like the lead time that many manufacturers have to deal with, we had to deal with that real time as well. So we had to adjust designs based on that.
I don't know how many people know this or recognize this. I mean, we do obviously because we work here, but most of the projects that we're going to talk about is made right there at the campus where SolidWorks is at in the Fab Lab. Can you guys talk a little bit about how that has enabled you guys to design and build and create these types of products for people?
Oh yeah. So I mean, what a wonderful resource we have. I mean,
Playground.
yeah. So the 3D Experience Lab, that's at our headquarters, North American headquarters in Waltham, Massachusetts. There's all kinds of equipment in there, and the lab opened in 2017, I think is the right year.
Yeah.
18. And it hosts our magic wheelchair builds, all the projects that you'll see us talk about in a little bit, as well as
Startups.
yeah, it's an incubator for startups. It hosts our slug meet, like all the events where making and CAD and broadcasting wants to happen. That thing is a hub of activity.
It does have a variety of manufacturing tools. We've had molding and casting areas. We've had sewing stations, electronic station. There's 3D printing. There's CNC laser cutting. So it's sort of like what you would expect in the regular maker space, but it is definitely leaning much more heavily on the digital fabrication side because it does leverage our CAD offerings, and it's designed in such a way where things can move around. I think almost annually we discuss
it's never looked the same
rearranging.
twice. Yeah.
And it also hosts a lot of tours as well as educational events. So it's not only a functional space, it's an educational and showcase space too.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're very lucky. Not everyone has access to that at their fingertips at their business, but if you, I mean, maybe we can talk about this more later, but like if you have ideas for building stuff, don't let your access to tools stop you, because there are maker spaces, there's hacker spaces, you name it, libraries even, and your local low tech school. There's so many ways to get your ideas brought to life.
And the one benefit too, I'm going to add before we jump to another topic, is that it being in the Waltham campus, the 3D Experience Lab also leverages mentors. So employees who are specialized in different areas. So you would have folks that might come in and work on simulation stuff or mechatronics elements or working with the robotic arm that's there. We also have partners who send us equipment that might require some prototyping or testing with our software. So there's always opportunities to learn from other experienced mentors on subject matter that may not be something that you're familiar with. So it's constantly being updated with equipment like AR, VR headsets. I'm running out of ideas.
And the latest and greatest in technology. I mean, even 3D printer tech changes, and we've gone through very
large
different
format versus and different, resin base, metal base, all that stuff. So very cool stuff.
It is really cool, and I think you're right. So I think it was 2017 because we had just launched SolidWorks CAM in 2017, and I went and set up the Tormach that was in there for
That's right.
SolidWorks CAM and validated it out. So Doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but I think you're right on it opened in 2017. Again, I want to remind everybody this is live. You need to ask these guys questions because they are a wealth of knowledge, which brings us to the next part. So you guys are doing something outside that we'll talk about here, and it's called Our Next Make. Can you guys explain that a little bit about what it is, where the idea came from, how you guys got into it? Like, give us all the lowdown of how Our Next Make became a thing.
So,
You start.
I mean, if you like it, you can thank Chinloo. And so a couple years ago, probably 3 years ago now, SolidWorks introduced the SolidWorks for Makers offer. So you could, anyone on the planet could buy a license of SolidWorks for less than $50 a year, which was epic. And Chinloo, to her credit, recognized there's an opportunity for us to help build awareness of this, because you go out to social media and you look for stuff you can find out how to do affiliate in SolidWorks, but there's no one at the time. There was no one making content that actually shows using the software to design something and then bring it to life, full as a maker. So we pitched it. I mean,
yeah, I think it was very much a moment of stars aligning or planets aligning, and we also saw that there was some need. I believe there was an email or some sort of post circulating the R&D space talking about, or a customer was asking, is there anything online that can help us get some material or guidance or personalities that can help us learn things differently than just reading manuals and help documentations. And that was really an opportunity for us to say, hey, we could probably create some content that's fun, and also maybe reach out to a different demographic that might be just coming out of school or even just getting interested into that field, on the possibilities of what being an engineer and being a designer means and what you can do with that knowledge and skill set. So we pitched it, and even before we finished the pitch, our direct managers, actually, I think I can say this, we pitched it to Manish, and Manish was just like, yes, do it.
Yeah.
And so we had his support, which is great. And it's been kind of an opportunity for us to explore the kind of content it could be. It's been almost 3 years now, and it's been different each year on how we want to communicate the way we use our tools, and also what we're trying to do with it. So if you get a chance to look at our channel, the product types are all over the place. But that's really our effort to say you can use this product or maker solution for almost anything, and to also help you see the potential of elevating what could have been traditionally done with a saw and drill and hammer.
Yeah, and I think it helps that you and I are a little wacky. Our ideas are they're nonstop, and we don't ever. I don't know if it's just because we've been exposed to so much technology, or if it's just how in our DNA. But we don't tend to look at something and say, "Oh, I can't. I don't know how to. I don't know
It's
how to
more
do
like,
that."
how do we make it
Yeah,
work?
yeah.
It's what we know.
Yeah, or let's go out and learn the missing piece. We learned welding for 5 minutes in college, but then we're like, hey, we should probably know how to weld. Let's
We
go.
took
And
a
we take a
class.
class and just you learn how to weld.
We also, to be fair, we also learn pottery. It's not just welding.
Oh, of course, yeah.
We learn how to throw down some clay.
Was it? Did you do the whole turn on the rotary and form everything, and
Yeah,
go
it
to the
was
kiln and do all the painting?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, like we would have clay on every part of our clothing, but it was super fun.
Yeah. So, but I guess that's coming back to the variety of projects we do. We have lots of interests. We'll never get to all the things we ever want to build, but we choose the projects that we want to do based on sort of mood and season, but also like
necessity.
Yeah, a lot of things we build are built out of the need to actually have.
Sorry.
Good.
Typical DIY mentality. We are. What is the something nature? Oh gosh, I can't remember the saying. Where it's basically mother of necessity.
Invention is
mother.
No, necessity is the mother of invention.
There you go.
Wow.
That is, between the two of us, we complete a thought.
Yeah, we actually only have one brain.
But the idea is that for us, like you'll see a lot of the projects expand from like we excuse me, we worked on a project which is the road case, and it's something that at the time we needed a way to pack up all our gear and demonstration pieces and bring it to events like Maker Faire or 3D Experience World. We wanted all of it to be in this nice protective thing. And we kept brainstorming on how we were going to do this and came up with the fact that we just need to build one because there's not something like that. And we went a step above and built it in such a way where the road case became our showcase thing. So we had legs that mounted on this, it opened up fully, and we had a TV inside that allowed you to then plug our laptop in, and it became both uh, a showcase of our products as well as a TV stand to loop our videos.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to come up with this idea, get it into CAD, show everyone that it's possible because this is the first time I've ever done this. It's actually one of our most popular videos.
And I love this project for so many reasons that, number one, we built a road case and we had never built a road case before, like, or a flight case, whatever you want to call it. Like that already like checks a box. I just did something we've never done before. We went to school on it too. Like, I may have done, no, probably never did a rivet before that moment. Like, I made decades through my life and I never riveted.
I riveted on metal. I never riveted on pieces of wood.
Yeah. So we learned new skills. And we failed a couple times. Like there's a blooper in there where I show, not a blooper, like an outtake that I was cutting aluminum on a miter saw, and that thing just bound right up in the blade. And so you're like, I should have done something different.
Yeah, it's like a U channel, and there needs to be support. Otherwise, it basically is so soft.
Yeah, and then I think the last thing for me that I loved so much was that we designed it with these legs, and thinking that they were going to be beefy. They were like just this 80-pound case is 3 feet in the air, and the legs are going like this. And we're like, we gotta go to the
that was fair. Like what Mike was saying. That was the 11th hour, and we're like, this thing needs to stand up. Yeah. We didn't properly mechanically design this. We didn't do strength tests, nothing. And let's just go buy some dowels and like stick it on. Yeah. And very quickly we realized that was a major fail on our engineer. We should be ashamed of ourselves as engineers.
Hey, that's okay. But then we redesigned it the next time we took it on the road. We built not laser cut, CNC cut interlocking plywood legs that look like a spider. Yeah, they flat pack. So that's the nature of making. You solve a problem, you get it 80%, and you go back.
Yeah, we already have a plan for version 2.0 on this thing. Just have to have time to do it. But we've also talked about building more flight cases or road cases for our camera gear, which is yet another thing now that we're getting more material. We're visiting more people, filming. So really can't wait to revisit that project. I totally forgot what your question was originally, by the way.
No, you guys answered my question and then like 3 other questions in that. So you're making my day easy right now. This is perfect. We do have a couple comments in the chat that I'm gonna read through. I'm gonna start with the man Eric Beatty. He says, "I thought Frank Zappa was the mother of invention." Okay, I'll give that one to you. And then we have one that says, "Wow, you guys are awesome. I'm from Nigeria. I've been using SolidWorks for a time now, but sometimes I feel like I'm still stagnant. Do you take interns?"
So we that's a great question. The two of us do not. However, our teams do, and the broader R&D team and all of Dassault system have internship opportunities. We would absolutely recommend that you check out the job openings website. There are probably seasons where you'll find more opportunities. So sort of like early spring, you might see a big list of 75 openings for interns within SolidWorks alone, and because we're trying to fill a summer's worth of interns, but we do have other departments that have interns throughout the year. So keep your eyes open for
career space.
Yeah,
but I want to answer this question differently. I would say if you're feeling stagnant in what you're doing, one way to get you excited again is to go around your community, your family, your friends, whatever. Just keep an ear out for a need. And if there's a need, like right now, we're living with aging parents, and the first thing that catches our attention is how do we make this easier for them to use ergonomically? I'm sure you can find someone or someplace in your community. It could be a shelter, it could be a local library. See if there's something that you can contribute using your CAD skills and do it. Just have a hobby project side thing. If you can't fabricate it, design it in CAD and then find someone who can fabricate it. And just that little thing might get you unstuck with your stagnant feeling, and it might ignite a different kind of interest or passion. So just, that you can control is within all your powers. But yes, if you're interested in internship, listen to what
No, your
just
answer
said.
was so much better. Like mine was textbook,
That
and
was
yours was like
mine's like,
inspirational.
you make your own destiny. Don't wait for other people to make it available for you. Freaking stand up and do it. Stand up and get it done.
There was Eric did the robots cartoon. If you see a need, fill a need. I don't know if you guys have seen that. My girls
Yes.
love that.
That's exactly
There was
that's our motto from school, by the way. Our teacher from
is it? Okay. There was I cannot remember for the life of me. It was a successful person. They basically said if you want to build $1 million business, the best way to start is to go to interview 250 people locally in your area. Take all of those things, and from that, you'll find some gap in your area that you can design and build and turn that into $1 million business. And they had done that several times over and over and over. It wasn't like, well, I'm only good at this, so I have to cut all these other things out. It was a matter of you just go interview everyone in your community, at least 250 people, take the cross section of all of that, look at what the need is cross sectionally, and then go learn and figure out how to solve that problem. So you're correct, Chinloo, and Sal, you're correct too. As DS employees, you answered that correctly. So nicely done.
Can I add
So
one more story? Sorry,
yeah,
you
go
just
ahead.
reminded me of a story that I have to share with this group because it completely changed my life perspective. And it was presented to me by a group of young girls who were maybe 9 to 12. And I apologize if you know who you are and I got it wrong. I'm so sorry. But it was at a some sort of competition where it was like girls coding kind of thing. And these are young ladies who found a need, not very hard. They just they have family members who come home at night and it's usually very dark and they have to watch so these are moms usually that work night jobs. So these girls who wanted to improve their mom's safety decided that they would make some sort of SOS chat app that allowed the moms to have it on their phone as they come home from work to be able to group, kind of say like, I'm leaving this place now. And so everyone is able to keep each other in check. And they just came up with this all by themselves, just by interviewing their parents, their moms, and then realizing that this is something that they could do. None of them had programmed before, but they taught themselves to do it for this competition. And I was blown away at just how clever they were in solving this problem. But this is a perfect example. You don't need to know much, just talk to someone. And it's just, anyway, had to share that.
No, I mean, that's a great example and a great story. And I think it falls into everything that we've been talking about, right? And we've sort of answered this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, because Ian behind the scenes, he did a really nice job preparing all these questions for us. So the question that I have is, what have you learned from these projects and what do you do to make products and designs more efficiently? We've sort of skirted this, but we'll go straight to the question of taking all the things that you didn't know and you've learned. How does that go into, you talk about the case being 2.0, version 2.0. How do you continually design better as you learn more things? What's your process for that?
Is there a process?
Yeah. Oh,
no, go ahead.
Being engineers, I'm just going to start, you can finish.
Yes.
Being engineers, I think we've always been taught to look at a problem inside out, upside down. You know exactly what the problem is you're trying to solve. So every time we begin a project, we always remind each other, what is it that we're trying to solve here? Instead of saying, hey, let's make this out of CNC, or just there's there's not a solution. You don't come to the problem with the solution without really understanding what the problem is. So we always start there. And then to help us do things better is that we do digitally CAD a lot
Yeah.
first. And we often iterate just in the digital environment. Would you say that's the case?
Oh yeah, I mean every time we model something, it makes the problem that we're trying to solve more clear, and it often will make us have to pivot and design something differently. I wanted to come at this from a different angle though. Like, we're learning with every single project. If I think back, 7 years ago, I never did anything with CNC. Right? It's now like one of my favorite things to do is to program the CNC to cut something out of wood. But every project allows us to build new skills and get better at what we do. And I think it's those, some people will call them failures. They're those little opportunities to learn. The more you make, the more you understand how something works. You're just going to take that and build it better into the next project. It's kind of a natural phenomenon that happens. The more you do, the more you will learn, and the better you will get. It's whether you're clicking away at SolidWorks and you just figured out how to do something faster, or if you're physically making something, you make it, you figure out, hey, I could have done it better if I did this, and you apply it next time.
And there's actually, yes, absolutely. And we also, because we keep building our skills and we keep getting more familiar with the varieties of fabrication efforts, like now in our portfolio, we've had laser cutting, 3D printing, CNC. We started doing leather work, fabric work, painting. So there's a lot of these things where there's millions of ways to solve a problem, and we choose one based on the situation we're in. And if we have extra scrap wood or extra filament, we'll just leverage those things. But as we move along, we've realized, hey, we could have probably improved that process by 3D printing a jig. It would have taken us a few minutes to model a jig and print it out, and then we can save the downstream process afterwards. And so there's definitely those types of lesson learned and leveraging different perspectives on how to solve the problem that has helped us improve our design and fabrication process. And often, so a good example that we had recently learned about is we have an automaton that we created where it was very much a one-off. If you make it, it's great the way it is. But when we realized that we had to make 200 of these for an activity, that design changed real quick, both for stresses that we were applying to it when we have to adjust things, as well as the fact that we need to now mass produce this in a larger, still like a mini large scale.
Yeah, I love, so yeah, so the picture all these little wooden pictures. I guess we didn't have a picture of that one, but all these little laser cut wooden pieces, and the cut time was taking us forever. It was going to take us hours and hours to produce this. But by nesting the laser cut pieces right up against each other and sharing a cut edge, we were able to batch out parts much more quickly. What you're seeing on the screen now is actually our shut the box game, and this is probably the greatest example we have of combining all the different ways to make things. So we're doing classic woodworking here, but we were CNC routing pieces. We used a laser cutter to cut the acrylic and to etch the numbers on the little fingers here.
Oh, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
So we engraved on those fingers quite a bit. And for those of you who work with laser cutting, you'll know that engraving takes longer because it's basically etching a dot at a time, and versus cutting is a very quick, like vector movement. It's like a path for CNC. So instead of engraving every single number, we went and through learning and experience, we decided it was enough to just outline the numbers so very visible. So
Yeah.
things like that we learned to improve over time.
Yeah, exactly. What would have taken maybe 15 minutes to do all those numbers took
Yeah.
a minute or something.
And another element, I don't know if this really answers the question, but anytime we can delegate the assembly of something to someone else and call it an experience of this DIY experience, we do it. For example, that project, which was meant to be a trophy. So we were hosting a group of students because they won a NASA competition, and it was something that Dassault System had sponsored. So they were coming to the lab. We were going to talk to them about what we do and everything. We said, why don't we just make them assemble their own gift? And that's exactly what we did. But we also made it so that it's not just a showcase piece that you put on the table. It was going to be something that they could play with when they're not busy showing off how awesome they are. They can actually pull it off the counter and turn it into game. So Shut the Box is actually a individual or team playing game. And they got to learn how to assemble all of these pieces and understand the processes that went to all the elements. And we turned it into a learning experience. So yes, it helped us in improving our fabrication process, as well as gave us opportunities to design it better.
You just summed up the challenge we have every year at the shop floor through the experience world. How do we take things, build it, and make it successful? I have a question. I have a theory, but I have a question. There's the 3 ways to learn, right? See, hear, do. Which type are you two? Are you more of you can visualize it and do it? Do you have to see someone do it? Are you audible? Someone tells you how to do it? How do you learn?
Oh,
You want to go first?
I think.
Can we do percentages?
No, yeah, I know. Well, I don't think I'm a here. So yeah, no, I'm just going. I think I'm a C, because as a child, sitting at home, watching my favorite show at 8 years old was This Old House. Like what 8? But I was addicted to watching that show, and that's how I learned before I could ever swing a hammer, before I even had confidence to attempt a project at home. I learned how to do these things, install windows, tear down a wall, and I just did it by watching. And then when I was 13 or whatever, my mother's like, all right, hey, you want to do this? And I just did it, because I felt like I knew it already, because I just watched it and watched it and watched it. And I understood it. So I think that for me is how I, but doing for sure.
Yes.
Is like, that's how
I would say, yeah. Sorry. No.
Doing is how you, for me, how I sort of perfect the skills or build the skills, but learning the skills, I think for me is primarily a C.
Yeah, I'm definitely, the do part is maybe 60% for me. And then the C, like Sal was saying, would probably be like a 20%. And then whatever's left is the hearing. Because to me, it's very much you can see something, you can watch something. Obviously, you can absorb as much as you can, but at the end of the day, if I'm not doing it physically, I don't necessarily learn, because I'm 5'1", 5'1", and I don't have the build of most machine handling folks. A lot of the tools in this world was designed for people with larger hands than me. I have like little tiny baby fingers. And so if I am trying to learn a particular skill or do something, I'm going to have to find my own way of solving it. And I can hear the theory, watch how someone else does it, but I'm never going to do it the same way as they do. So for me, it's for sure more do.
Did you think that we were all do, Mike?
Yeah, what did you think we were going to say?
I would have guessed you to be C and do as a follow-up because of what your day job is. And I say that because I'm more similar to Sal. Like if I see how someone does it, okay, great, I grasp that concept. But once I do it, then I fully understand it from an architecture standpoint. So like CNC programming, once I started programming lasers and mills and machines, G-code's G-code, it doesn't really matter. I can make all that work. Same with CAD back in the day, right? Once you understand the rules to how the software runs by doing, then I can explain it and articulate it. If someone comes up to me and says, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z, it takes longer for me to process because that's not my strength. So I was curious in that, because when you were talking about some of the problem solving, and I'll have you answer this in a second, but like when I design products and, I build stuff in my shop for people, especially if it's something that hasn't been done before, I like to try to go get into a state, like a flow state, where my mind can just visualize how all these pieces would come together and the what if and all of those things. And then when I go to sit down and do CAD, it's more of the validation point. So when you guys go through that design what if, do do you immediately go to CAD, or do you sort of have this abstract thought of like all the things that you've seen, like, different parts of the world, architecture, how things flow, and then try to put it together in CAD? Like, what's that idea to rough concept look like?
This is interesting. You can think about your answer, but I do want to answer this thing
Yeah.
because interestingly for me, if it was just me doing a project, I would do it slightly differently. So yes, if it was just for me, I would probably see it much like what you and Sal mentioned, and then just go ahead and proceed. But because we are a team, more often than not, I find that we need to see, not mostly because we have to generate and make sure the other person's on the same page as I am so that we can move forward. In fact, we've done a few projects where it's all here. And I'm just like, I don't know how to help you unless you like show me CAD or you do something and like sketch something. So in our situation when we're working together, I feel like we are forcing each other to have to see, or at least, yeah, here doesn't work for us.
What'd you say?
We're visual learners.
Yeah.
So we always seem to have to show, it's like the seeing part is actually for someone else. And then once we're on the same page, we can do. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It made sense to you.
No, it made sense. It made sense to me. It made me smile a little bit too, because like my wife helps out and she'll be like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And it's like, it's all up here. Like, I can see how this is going to end.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not in your brain. You have to articulate this to make sense. So it did make me smile a little bit, but yes, I do. I understand your point on that 100%.
Yeah. One other fine point. I mean, CAD is 99% of the time present in the workflow. I don't think it's always the first thing though. So sometimes it's just let me draw something on a piece of paper. Sometimes it's let me cut this piece of cardboard and then hold it up and be like, this is what I mean. So I think it comes down to how quickly you need to communicate in our case, or just do a sort of a quick prototype. There are other ways to quickly prototype something before you then want to formalize it into CAD, because either the manufacturing technique is going to benefit from that CAD model, or that you're going to get a higher quality result if you spend some time and get it in CAD. Even if you're going to go to the table saw, to the bandsaw, and to a drill to make it, just getting it in CAD and knowing how much material you need to cut, like all the benefits of having that digital model, even if you're not digitally fabricating. Yeah.
I think there would even be like a half step before that. We whiteboard so much. So mostly because we have different skills, I lean more on the artistic side, visual side. Sal leans more in the technical CNC CAD side. And there are times when we're just, even before we go into CAD, especially me, I'm illustrating my intent and he would say, hey, why don't you try this feature for this particular CAD? Then it might save you time. Or this is opportunity, even CAD-wise.
Yeah, I mean, with the Back to the Future, the DeLorean build that we did was a great example of that, where
Right.
I had a vision, but you're like, no, if we did this. And so we did a lot of whiteboarding with this model. This was where, we had just a bunch of boxes of screws in our garage shop, sort of just taking up space. And we're like, we got to organize this a little bit. And we were looking at a fun way to do it. And I think it was you, Chinloo, you said that the exhaust or the cooling vents on the back of the DeLorean look like little cubbies.
Yeah.
And so we just leaned right into that. And we designed this in.
Yeah. And Sal was in SolidWorks and I was in X Design. I took on the actual like Mr. Fusion portion and the actual 3D printed elements on the back. And I definitely brainstormed on the whiteboard with him even before I started modeling, because I had an idea of what I wanted to do with acrylic and 3D printing. And he had some other thoughts on what it should look like. So we went back and forth for a little bit, because in my head, again, I was in my head and I thought he lived there. And I'm like, no, this is going to be a revolve. It's going to be great because then I can just remove this portion and then dump the Mr. Fusion and use the same base. And I needed to actually communicate the intent, design intent with him before we were on the same page with me modeling it. As we all know, when you go into SolidWorks or X Design, if you don't have a clear design intent, you're gonna have to redo a lot of work. So it was definitely a thing where I learned over time to be a better CAD designer by making sure that I didn't go down the wrong path in the beginning. So yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I filled up a lot of our collab spaces with what if things that never made it to the actual shop. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And part of the reason I was asking too is like for me personally, I've started making, you know, some things I can talk about, some things I can't, but like accessories for vehicles for different people. And, you know, you start looking at the old vehicles, right? And they have these really cool compound shapes that were all, you know, stamped out of steel, but there's no like real way to measure it. So I've been playing a lot more with scanning and then bringing it into like X Design and those products and then being able to build out and try to capture those compound surfaces to make sense. So I'm just curious how you guys went around it because I knew we have that DeLorean model too, and that thing is super cool. And there's like all those weird shapes that you guys created. So that led a little bit to the question of it. But I do have another question, and we're sort of leading up to this point of, you know, where do you see the future of design and manufacturing going as people who are doing making?
Gosh, I mean, the trajectory is remarkable. If I don't know that I can comment about, you know, production commercial grade fabrication, but at the maker level, at the hobbyist and the personal digital fabrication, the trajectory is ridiculous. If you look at the types of 3D printers that are on the market and how fast they can produce, the types of materials they can work with, laser cutting becoming way more affordable. You know, instead of 5-digit, they're now down to 4-digit dollars. So I only see that expanding. And so for me, there's the future of personal fabrication, I think is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, like even we touched on this too, and we're seeing this a lot in the YouTube sphere, is that people are realizing that 3D printing is not just a toy anymore, that you can actually 3D print tools and devices and jigs and things like that that can help you make a better final product. In fact, one of our earlier products, Sal, instead of going to buy like a few cent washer that we might have to like,
it was a figure 8 washer.
It was special, but it was like a, you know, it didn't have countersunk and it was a piece of stamped out sheet metal. So he said, you know what, we could 3D print one that has countersunk, say, you know, all that stuff. So there's those customizability of exactly what you need. And to Sal's point about timing, you now have DIY solutions that doesn't take weeks to do. I mean, we needed a little like ice handle holder for our ice maker, and I just popped into CAD, modeled a couple of things, tested a few times, and it was done that day, like that night in a few hours. So, and then it probably would have taken me longer just to hunt something online, Amazon, ship it, or go somewhere and buy it. I actually designed and printed it, and it worked perfectly fine. So this future of instant gratification, highly functional things that are extremely customizable is there already.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we shouldn't overlook the fact that there are also pretty awesome services out there, because, you know, even if someone says, oh, I can buy my own laser now, it only costs this much, it's still going to be a price point that most people can't justify. But there are services that for $30 you can get your part show up and you can design anything, and it's this metal part that just comes to your doorstep. It's, you know, I think there will be trends of that being more readily available, even more cost effective. And I think the other piece is sort of material science. There's tried and true materials that are available, but as whether it be 3D printing or new composites or whatever that come out, you're going to be able to build stuff.
Also, not only in the material science, but also just the way we generate our CAD. Now you have X-generative kind of, you can get additional strength with reduced weight and mass just from your CAD, and you just have to find the right kind of material, and Bob's your uncle, and you have something that's like, wow. Bob is not
you
my
stole
uncle.
my comment I make every episode. Thanks, Chinloo.
Oh, that's good. We just wanted to make it better.
I live in your brain.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
There's a really good question that came in the chat that I agree with both of you. The world's a better place when people are creating products. When you're creating and building, you're generally happier and you're thinking of a lighter part of the world. I also think that, we've obviously through the manufacturing side with machining now being part of makers, we get brought into that on my day job, right? Answering questions. And like 2 weeks ago, I was on an hour call with a person from Australia going through how to do machining and things like that. And like, there's that common thread connection with anybody anywhere in the world of, hey, I want to build this. Can you help me get to that? And to me, I think that's a really cool thing where regardless of the level of equipment you now have the ability to build and create, and you can start anywhere. You're not helpless in what you do. And like $50 a year for makers, honestly, that's one meal out a week. That's pretty darn cheap. The question that comes in is, how do you feel or what do you think about AI in CAD space? Like, how will it impact CAD in general? For example, AI models that generate CAD models.
I have an answer for this.
Oh, go.
Oh,
Go.
damn, I'm talking too much.
No, you're not.
Okay, I have this because I had the same question for myself recently. And the thing is, you have to get to a point where you're more savvy than the AI tool. AI tools are great in starting that spark and helping you maybe get over a hurdle. But at the end of the day, whether or not it's feasible in your situation and that it meets exactly what you need has to be evaluated by you. So I do feel that leveraging it to inspire you on a final design or leveraging AI to, if you're stuck or stumped, like I need just a little something else with this, you can use it to help you come up with something you haven't thought of, a different perspective. But at the end of the day, I would not prompt an AI, get a design and then make it and think that's going to solve my problem. I would have to iterate off of it.
Yeah. I think I'll add that the idea of AI building 3D models, one reaction could be, man, I really love building 3D models. I love clicking and making sketches and extruding. That's part of the creative process. And I think I feel that way a little bit, but I think more so, I think about the benefits to the end result, which is if it's going to help me build faster and better, it means I can do more. I can make more projects. I can be more creative. I can solve more problems, help more people. So, yes, do I wish that I could maybe spend a little more time making a sketch and adding that really cool parametric behavior? Yeah, but that's so small compared to the bigger results I think that we can get as AI starts to come on and help us more. And the fact that I can have an AI agent that sort of helps me be smarter than I already am, right? I can ask it a question that says, hey, will this hold 100 pounds? And I don't have to go and set up a simulation or like, that's a really cool future.
Yeah.
And
we are definitely there that it can probably bring you up to 80% of the way you need, or even 90, depending on the quality of the training material for the tool. But at the end of the day, I think it's still, if you're relying on AI to get 100% of your work, I think that's just a little bit concerning, dangerous too, right? So I feel like,
go ahead, Chinloo.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and I think with the ability, oh, someone had said this before, and I can't remember who to give the credit to.
Spider-Man?
No, we're not quoting movies, but I think it was one of the talks we had participated in recently. But the idea that, AI is like this magnificent beast that you are either the master of or the subordinate to. And I think that you have to be able to control that fantastic beast so that you can get exactly the beautiful future you want versus basically, succumbing to its direction and realizing you're not going the direction you need to go and finding yourself in a bigger hole than you were before. So I completely messed up the metaphor, but point is,
you should have quoted Spider-Man.
I can't remember the quote.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, that is a good one, but that's not what I was going to say. That is good though.
The interesting thing to me about it is, Sal, you and I go back a couple days, and I started on the board. Then I did 2D AutoCAD. Then I got into 3D parametric modeling and then eventually into SolidWorks, right? And you think about the shift that happened through the 90s where you had draftsmen and you had designers. They were two different people that did two different things. And then we had the paradigm shift of parametric modeling where all of a sudden the draftsman was the designer at the same level that the designer was, right? And the role of a draftsman changed. It didn't go away, but it changed, right? You empowered more people to create than before. And when you talk about AI is that next step of paradigm shift where it speeds up throughput and do those things. And coming from the manufacturing side, it makes me smile and laugh a little bit because, you know, robots have been around since, gosh, what, 60s or 70s, you know, and everyone's now, oh, robots are going to take our jobs. Robots don't take the jobs. What they do is they move people to do what they're good at, which is problem solve and create. They remove the mundane tasks. So if you look at AI and CAD, yeah, I can create that block and circle better and faster maybe, but without the design and manufacturing intent and all the knowledge behind it, it's still not going to replace anything because the human condition is to build and create and do what we need to do. So we're the driver of that future, right? Yep. The challenge that most companies come into when they talk about design and engineering is I build it X, which is different than how my other company did, right? So for AI to function, you have to have all of that data to build the model to the spec of what that company does. So I think AI is great, but at the end of the day, as humans, we're built to create and solve problems. All AI does is the same thing that a robot does, which is remove some of that mundane component. It's not all or nothing. I think a lot of times we overinflate things for the shiny object of the moment, but I could be wrong. That's just my opinion on it.
No, I think you got it.
So with that, we got time for one more question because we're coming up on an hour. I told you guys this would go fast. Yeah. The question is, what would you suggest to a person who wants to get started designing and building with their own ideas? I know we touched on this briefly, but if we can sort of summarize that for people, send them out in the world to be the next great makers.
So I'll say, first of all, just get started. There's no project too small. There's nothing that you can do. Even if you fail, you'll learn. But I think the other thing is a mindset. Remember that making things is a journey. You know, I didn't wake up and automatically have all the skills I have today. It took me 30 plus years of being in this industry and using things with my hand and watching shows as a child to get to where I am today. And I still have so much further to go. So acknowledge that it's a journey and cut yourself some slack. Don't beat yourself up because you're like, oh, I don't know it all. How can I just try something? And even if you don't know what you're doing, watch a couple of videos, give it a try, be safe, and you'll learn.
Yeah, I don't know how many gardeners there are out there. I go by the same logic that someone shared in the past is like when you ask how I want to grow things, how do I get started? And they're usually saying, grow the thing you want to eat. Because so in this context, I would say, get started with something that you know is small and successful. Don't undertake like a renovation if you've never done it before. I would say start small, make sure it's something that you could more likely succeed than fail so that you can build up that confidence. And once you build up that confidence, then you can start taking higher risks and then doing more interesting things and build from it. So wins in this, and I think a lot of us can relate, is it's fine making mistakes because you learn a lot from it. But if you make 10 mistakes in a row, your confidence starts like tanking and you're just realizing you may make the false conclusion that you're not good at this and you walk away, which is not true. So make sure that you take on things that on the surface might seem like you can succeed, and you need a few wins more than fails.
No, I love that whole plant what you want to eat. This notion of pick a project that you are personally passionate about, like you want to do, because that'll be
your motivation. On the days where you're just like, I don't feel like working on this, if it's a personal thing that that means something to you, that would be your motivation to actually push through that negative thinking.
Yeah. And we're not quoting movies, but we'll do TV shows for Sal. No mistakes, only happy little accidents, according to Bob Ross, because we were talking about
That's right.
That
hey, Bob. So, that's my uncle, by the way.
I can see the resemblance up here.
Yeah. I just, I'm going protesting.
So we're at the end of the episode. I got a couple bills to pay. So Ian will produce the one next month for us. So there's a couple big things, and us all being SolidWorks people, we should talk about the webpage we have for the 30th anniversary of SolidWorks. It's hard to believe it's been around that long. So, we'll roll the footage here. Make sure you go check that out. It's pretty cool. If you start thinking about where we started 30 years ago to all the capability we have today, like it's been a pretty significant jump. I remember when sheet metal was added, and that was a big thing, right? And then Manish with his weldments and the components he created for that. So, it's pretty cool. Please go check that out. Sal and I, we're responsible for some upcoming presentations for 3D Experience World, right, Sal?
Yeah.
So we have a website. Submissions are open. If you want to present on a topic, go to 3dexperienceworld.com, go in there, submit a session. We have, what are we up to now, Sal? A couple hundred open slots?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But there's,
I'm putting him on the spot, of course.
Yeah.
So.
I get your submissions in, folks. There's only just about a week left before we start to close that down and build out the full agenda. We'd love to see all the cool ideas. We know you've got knowledge and experience to share.
Yeah, and I've been looking at some of the manufacturing ones. I deal with the manufacturing production. There is some great thought topics that are coming through this year on how to use tools to make better goods out there. The last thing we got to do, and this is for Sal and Chinloo, where do people go find you? Where do people go to our next make? How do they follow, reach out, provide feedback, make you guys even more popular than you already are?
We do have
Yes,
a bio site.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go to our bio site, and you actually will have access to all the platforms we're on, as well as a 20% discount on a maker's license. And you get to see some quick links to some of the materials that we produce. We also have a running list. There's also a link there of all of the episodes that we created that have associated files that you can download, either ST or step files for 3D printing, or even 3D models that you can modify yourself. So everything's free, but you just have to go through that. And I think we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and 3D Swim. So
No MySpace?
no MySpace. No.
Trying to get a laugh
No,
before
yeah.
we end up here. So. So I can't thank you guys enough for jumping on this and talking with me about making and building. You guys are doing amazingly great topics and teaching people how to get out and build stuff. I can't thank you enough for taking time to spend with myself today. So hopefully sometime in the future when we do some other products, we can have you guys back on. But thank you so much, and everyone have a great day. Next month is going to be super cool. I think we might have some of the execs on talking about 30 years of SolidWorks.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Having us. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody.